All right, we are live, streaming live on YouTube, the Scare of Scuttlebutt podcast with some friends. How are you, friends? Marisha and Andrew from Sci Fictionary. How's it going, guys?
We're doing good.
We're good.
And who else is there? Carl Urban sipping a Yoda tea. What is that? How you doing, Alex?
Good. How are you guys doing? Happy to see you.
Good to hear you.
Yeah. Sorry, I am no condition to be seen on a camera right now. So Carl Urban was a accurate depiction of my mood.
Yeah, that's about how my day is going too. 2/3 of my children were in bed at 7 o'clock because it's just one of those days.
So we got our first visitor in the chat, Semper Fi Danny. Semper Fi Danny, thank you very much for subscribing to our channel. We are back online. Thanks for stopping by. Say hello to Semper Fi, everybody.
What's up?
Hey, how's it going?
So the world premiere of The Rise of Skywalker happened last night in Los Angeles. And did you guys catch it? Did you guys catch it on the live stream?
No, the Saints were playing. Sorry.
Yeah, we were we watched football last night, and then we watched we watched Revenge of the Sith, and then we watched the Saints play.
Then we watched Drew Brees break some records because I'm from New Orleans, so I gotta care.
Nice. Alex, did you catch anything online?
I caught a little bit of the interview with Mark Hamill and a couple of the stars just doing little tidbits and answering questions and stuff, but I didn't watch the whole thing.
Yeah, I think the last two I watched the whole thing. I was very eager. This time around, I just kind of I didn't watch it live because I was working, but when I got home at close to midnight, I was just kind of skimmed through the feed just to see stuff happening. Looked pretty exciting. Had a lot of stormtroopers and cosplayers enjoying the evening. So it looked like a lot of fun. But the red wine has worn off. It is Tuesday on Twitter, and people are talking.
Yep.
I have not been on. I'm not doing Twitter until
Yeah,
Thursday.
I would suggest to have a blackout until then.
It's weird. Usually there's kind of like a code of honor among most people on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's always going to be some that will spoil it, but typically for a big tentpole movie like this, people kind of stay low key for a while. This one, it didn't matter what side of the fandom you might consider yourself to be on, whether you're in the, like The Last Jedi, like the direction, like what Disney's doing, or you don't. People just didn't care. They were just posting screenshots and
yeah.
I was really surprised at that. There was a really big shift in. Yeah, it's so weird. I don't know.
It's mean.
It is mean. It's even Mark Hamill announced keep it civil, don't spoil it for other people, and people were like on his timeline saying that's not going to happen, and it was out of control.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was people from Collider were doing it. It wasn't just the small YouTubers and Twitter handles and stuff. It was the major blue check marks and everything.
Yeah.
So
there was already, I think tonight is when the embargo gets lifted, the review embargo, because I've already seen a couple of reviews. And, for The Force Awakens, I wanted to go in like super clean. I didn't want to see any spoilers. I didn't want to hear anything. I was really excited at that Chewie We're Home trailer. Mm-hmm. So I was really, really, very excited for that film. Same thing with Rise or The Last Jedi. I really wanted to really like it. I was super stoked at the end of The Force Awakens. I'm like, oh my God, what's going to happen? But unfortunately, this time around, I'm not as excited. I've got my friends, my work friends, and everything, and we're all getting dressed up. So we're kind of excited for that and just kind of hanging out and having dinner and then watching a movie afterwards. Mm-hmm. But I feel bad that like inside, I don't feel as excited as I think I should be. And I don't know what it is. Is it because I'm older now? I'm not 7 years old anymore, or what's going on here?
I don't know. I think maybe it's because it's the end, and if the end's not right, then it's like you're taking everything that we've loved for all these years, and you're saying this is the final word in this story. And so, like, I'm excited about it, but there's a little bit of apprehension.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And I've said it on other shows. I'm scared shitless, basically. I'm excited cautiously, but again, I'm not staying. I wasn't for this movie. I'm not staying away from spoilers. I don't want to say I'm not actively pursuing them. I'm like going head deep into spoiler territory, leaks. I mean, everything. So, but it's like a weird thing. It's like roadkill. You want to turn away, but you want to like start like poking at it and seeing if it's still moving, you know?
This is the weirdest analogy I've ever heard.
Star Wars is like roadkill.
You want to poke at it.
You got to poke at it.
Oh.
Yeah. Somebody in the chat said bingo, but I mean, it's
Just, I hope that quote's on the back of the Rise of Skywalker DVD set when it comes out.
if it is, I'm calling somebody because I need a check.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man. Well, I'll be just as blunt as Ro apparently, but I was super excited. I love The Force Awakens. I saw that movie 8 times, and I knew the criticisms of it were legit. About it being kind of a retread of A New Hope, but in the end, I felt like that was a good direction to go because it kind of springboarded these new characters forward without trying to reinvent the wheel. That's how I kind of rationalize it. So I was looking forward to where they were taking Rey and Finn and Poe and seeing Luke again. And then, of course, I don't. It's no secret, but I did not like the direction that The Last Jedi took. And then the fallout after that for the past few years has just been an onslaught of negativity, and on both sides. And I think that's what really kind of threw a wet blanket on me for this next episode. Is I'm just like just the online presence of this movie, and people are talking about what's happening in the movie, and I'm just like, this is just not. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like it belongs in Star Wars anymore. And what really, this is not a spoiler or anything, so don't worry, but what really, really kind of put the nail in the coffin was that George Lucas didn't show up to the premiere. And when I found that out, I was like, are you serious? Like, this is supposed to be the end of all ends. This is the end of his story that he started in 1977 and risked everything he had to make episode 5. And, like the whole story that we all know about George Lucas. And he either didn't get invited or he saw the movie and was like, I'm not going to the premiere. Either one is not a good vibe for me. So I have my tickets already. I'm going with my wife on Thursday, but I am not optimistic about this anymore. I kind of want to just put this behind us. I want to look forward to what's going to come next. Hopefully they can kind of, once they move away from these legend characters and these iconic characters, they can kind of start fresh, and there won't be this I don't know. They don't have to live up to any kind of expectations. They can just start from a new beginning, kind of like The Mandalorian, where I'm really enjoying that show more and more every episode. So I'm really bummed out about this, but I'm also just kind of like, let's just put it behind us. Let's move forward and look for the future.
Maybe you'll love it. Then you can be pleasantly surprised.
I hope so. I think we all hope so. I think we all really hope for a pleasant surprise. And again, I haven't done a Twitter or social media blackout. Like I said, I've dove right into the whole mix. There's a lot of stories that are, saying that people like me are going to like it, or people like me are not going to like it. I posted just a couple of hours ago. I don't know what to think. And obviously I don't know. I don't need other people's opinion to tell me what I think. But at this point, it's like, oh, okay. But I'm very excited. I'm very excited.
Yeah, I don't want to give the impression, like, I'm sure there are going to be things in the movie that I will enjoy. I'm going to love seeing X-Wings and B-Wings flying around Star Destroyers. I'm going to love it probably aesthetically. And I do want to see what they ultimately do with Kylo and Rey with their battles and what happens with Kylo Ren. So I don't want to say I'm not going to enjoy any of it. Obviously, there's going to be elements of it that I can pick apart, and that's true of The Last Jedi too. There's elements of that movie that I like. So I don't want to be like a complete downer, but just like I said, I'm just kind of like, okay, let's get this done. Let's put the final word on this saga, and then we can move on to something new, and hopefully we can get something like Old Republic. I know Ro, you tweeted something about Keanu Reeves as Revan. I thought that was pretty cool. So there's a lot of new directions that can go and a lot of new stories to be told. So I'm looking forward to the future more so.
Yeah, you guys look sad up there.
I'm excited.
Yeah, no, I'm excited about the movie. Like I said, I'm apprehensive, but it's like what Alex is talking about. I almost wonder, and we've talked about this before, like if instead of trying to make this some kind of continuation of the Skywalker saga and all this stuff that we've seen 7 and 8 had just been removed completely from the Skywalker saga and done as a completely new trilogy without dragging the old things and old characters into it.
If we all might have liked it better.
Yeah, I mean, there would still be, because you wouldn't have had the issues with what they did with Luke.
Right.
But because I like the new characters, but I feel like they've tried to do too much or something and haven't given some of the characters their proper due. And we're starting to see some of the actors like John Boyega kind of saying that.
Yeah.
Well, that's a very interesting thing too. I mean, when this entire process is done, are we going to see people be as disgruntled as Mark Hamill was, during the press junket for The Rise of Skywalker? I don't think so. Mark Hamill is in a unique position because he's Mark Hamill. He's Luke Skywalker. People have said he is Star Wars, and I think there's a certain freedom that goes along with that. And yes, he's voiced his opinions. I don't know if he's been told to kind of knock it down a little bit, but I'm not sure if we're going to get, maybe in 5-10 years, we'll get like a tell-all book from Anthony Daniels saying everything that people think about, The Last Jedi. But it'll be interesting to find out. I mean, yeah, we've heard John Boyega. We've heard, even what's his name? Oscar Isaacs was asked, will you be willing to come back as Poe in a Disney Star Wars Plus, series? And he's like, nope.
Yeah, nope. He was real quick on it too.
Yeah.
Honestly, that was the first time I was like, oh, I tend to be kind of like, I'm kind of upbeat sometimes. I try to be upbeat. Okay, let's go with that. So, I've been like, oh no, it's going to be great. J.J. Abrams makes great movies. It's going to be wonderful. And I'm still excited, but that was not reassuring. Oscar Isaacs being like, nope, never again. It was like, that's not what we want to hear.
I mean, was it that bad of an experience? I mean, yeah. I mean, like you said, we love we love the actors, and we love the new characters for the most part. But what is going on there?
He's the Harrison Ford of the new trio.
Exactly.
I guess. Yeah.
I mean, he's not the first. He's not the first that was like when they got done with the third movie, we're like, I'm done. Like that's it. I mean, Carrie Fisher and Harrison Ford were kind of both that way.
Yeah. And Hayden Christensen quit acting.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems to be one of those things that everybody's super stoked to get. And it seems like a lot of people, by the time they get done, done. So
what does that say about the fandom, man?
And that's my question though. Is it the movie that's the problem, or is it all of the people, who can just be terrible? Yeah. Like people, it's sometimes I'm on the internet. I'm like, oh, look, the Heisman Trophy winner said something about, poverty in his town. And, millions of people donated to his food pantry. Oh, there are good people in the world. And then you get on Twitter, Star Wars Twitter, really, it's like everyone is horrible. Why is everyone so mean? I mean, I can't imagine being in the middle of that. So much controversy in these movies. People don't like the fact that, Rey's a woman. They don't like the fact that, that somebody doesn't like something about everything. And people don't actually like the movie. There's, and there are some legitimate concerns, but Kelly Marie Tran getting run off of Instagram because people were being so hateful. I mean, it's kind of sad.
It is sad. And I actually, so, all right. So we've got those comments about, people getting run off of social media. And initially they had said that Daisy Ridley was like that. And she came out and she said it wasn't for that. It's just that, she's a young person. She tried to figure things out internally. So she left.
Mm-hmm.
But it is such a weird thing. I don't think I've ever heard anyone who is credible say that they didn't like the new Star Wars because the new hero was a female.
Oh, I mean, not like normal people, but
right. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. But you can find somebody that's saying anything when you go online.
Oh, of course.
You go to things Star Wars Celebration and you get a completely, it's like, because you go on Twitter and you go, man, this fandom is horrible. And then you go to Celebration, you go, this is the best fandom in the world. And it's kind of a weird thing where you kind of get two completely different vibes, whether you're really with these people or whether you're online. And it's because it's such a small group that's doing the really horrible things.
Mm-hmm.
They're just really loud.
Yeah. I mean, even the hardest critics of these new movies, it's less about who's playing who and what character gets the spotlight and more about just the direction that they chose to take those characters. I think they were looking for something a little bit different. And, of course they take things over the top and they have this mentality that is just a negative vibe. But I don't necessarily believe that it has anything to do with like the sexism aspect or anything like that. I think there's obviously going to be trolls and people who are parody accounts that might push that button a little bit, but nobody that's actually a fan of Star Wars is going to have a problem with that. I mean, we all grew up with Carrie Fisher as Princess Leia. We all grew up with Sigourney Weaver as Ripley. So
right.
I think it's less about that. And I was going to say something else, but I forgot what it was. I don't know. Go ahead, pick it up. I'll remember it in a second.
We all know there are certain accounts that because they're in front of this camera, they say the stupidest things to try to monetize, to try to get the clicks, to try to be able to do their thing. Now, how big of an aspect or how big does that play into all of the, obviously I think it plays in a lot into all the BS that's happening with the fandom. And especially now, everybody and their grandmother has a podcast or a show, and obviously technology makes it easier for us to be able to do this. But it's very interesting. We talk about the vocal minority, but is it really a minority? I think I don't know if it's a minority, but I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's definitely a large population of the fandom that are voicing that. And I think it's because of this, obviously. And obviously, I think casual fans won't go see a movie more than one, maybe two times. And like Alex, like you were saying, you saw The Force Awakens 8 times. I saw it 7 times. And I think fans like us are the ones that really, I believe, are the ones that push the blockbuster forward in as far as like money, as far as we've been loyal. I mean, look at our background. We've been loyal and spending money with these franchises, since forever.
A long time. Yeah.
So I mean, a lot of times people say, it's just like a vocal minority. Okay, well, we might be a minority, But there, there is power in what we're and how we are loyal to the brand, because I mean, Mark Hamill just posted something about that regarding, how the fans have been, we've been fans for forever. We've been loyal. We've been, very aggressive in what we like. And I posted something on that tweet with Mark Hamill. It almost sounded so final. It almost saddened me that he's posting pictures of him and the fans and stuff like that. It's almost like his eulogy. It was a weird post, but it kind of is, because this is the last of the Skywalker saga. So it is kind of like a weird, bittersweet experience that we're all kind of living through now that we are at the 9th film of this series. It's just a weird feeling.
Yeah.
So let me see. Let me go to the chat. Semper Fi Danny said, she says, I'm a sequel trilogy fan, and I didn't get into Star Wars until I was 41, despite being born the actual day before A New Hope.
Oh, wow.
So I don't have the same level of OT attachment, but I get the anger about the OT character treatment. Andrew, you were talking about how, we do have the attachment to original trilogy characters, and that is one of the reasons that people are up in arms about how these characters have been portrayed. And again, the sequel trilogy is kind of a gateway for other people, for new fans to come into Star Wars. And obviously I think that's a good thing, because when you get more fans interested in Star Wars, in any incarnation, it kind of grows the fandom. But what do you guys think of people that say, what do you think of that notion, though, that the sequel trilogy is kind of like the entry drug for people to like Star Wars?
I mean, I get it. I don't. I hope that, because Star Wars is such a vast thing, because it's this story that has so much texture to it, that I love that the sequel trilogy is bringing in new fans, and I appreciate that people like those movies. But I hope that as they come into the fandom, that they continue to broaden their horizons and take in all that other stuff. And I mean, there are even Legends books that are still worth going back and reading.
Oh yeah,
because they're still drawing from those. The Mandalorian is drawing heavily from that stuff. And so, because I mean, for me, it was all original trilogy, and Marisha saw the original trilogy first. But I mean, for her, I guess when she really got into Star Wars, I mean, she was a fan that came into, she became a big fan when the prequels came out.
I was a 14-year-old girl whenever the Phantom Menace came out. I mean, that was the coolest thing in the world, So, but something that I think we're kind of seeing now that I don't really remember noticing then, at least, is you're seeing people who basically seem to kind of identify as Disney Star Wars fans. Like, we're a fan of Disney Star Wars, which is fine, but it's kind of a different vibe, I think, than we had back in the, in 1999, whenever it was like, and here's the prequels, and in order to see the rest of the story, obviously it's just kind of a different, you had people who didn't like the prequels, but you didn't have people who were uninterested in what came before, which I kind of feel like we have a little bit of now, which is a little strange to me.
Yeah. I can kind of see that. Maybe not as much as I think I do, but there are other people that, even at work, people are asking me, in which order. I've never seen some of the older Star Wars movies, in which order should I watch them, and this and that, and blah blah blah. And they're introducing the films to their families and their kids and stuff like that as we grow older. But getting back to the prequel trilogy, I mean, it seems like the fandom, it seems like we're just an ungrateful bunch of a-holes for the most part. I mean, now, and Alex, you were saying how doesn't matter what camp, what Star Wars camp, people are just diving forward into spoiler territory and kind of crapping on stuff and crapping on people's experiences.
Yeah, it's really weird. I really hope that the fandom as a whole can turn it around, at least on the online presence, because Marisha, you made a solid point. Like, you go to or was it Andrew? About going to like a Star Wars convention, and it's freaking amazing. It's awesome. Like, I've never been to one, but I've seen Ro do live streams from one, and his experience. It sounds incredible. Then you go online, and it's just a completely different experience. It's so weird. And I think it has something to do with our society as a whole, with this keyboard warrior outrage clickbait thing. So I hope that it turns around. And honestly, I think a lot of this stuff would be calmed down significantly if the people who are in charge of this franchise would really take it upon themselves to try and deliver the very possible best product for the fans and for the people who have been loyal to this franchise. Because you look at Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, they obviously have a lot of love for Star Wars, and they're giving us a really good product with The Mandalorian. And people in general love it. I mean, people have criticisms about it, and I do myself, but overall, the enjoyment is there. Yeah. And it doesn't matter if, like you said, if you're, I can't believe that we're talking about this divide, but if you're a fan of The Last Jedi, or if you're not, you still both pretty much like The Mandalorian. So it's like, if in the greater scheme of things, if the higher ups at Lucasfilm can deliver a solid product in a trilogy or in a series of movies, I think a lot of this disgruntled fan going on around on the online community and otherwise would really, really simmer down quite a bit. So I'm hesitant to blame the fandom. I think they're just mad because we grew up on the original trilogy, which was like lightning in a bottle. I mean, it's damn near perfect. And when we given something that's less than that, we kind of tend to get a little overcritical about it. And I myself am guilty of this with the prequels. Like, I rip into the prequels quite a bit, and I kind of feel bad now because of what's going on with George with the new Disney era. I'm like, oh man, I should have been easier on him. But
we should have appreciated him when we had him.
I know, exactly. And I do feel bad about that. And the prequels weren't perfect; they weren't my type of movie. But I hear a lot of people are giving them a better impression nowadays than they were back when I was in high school growing up. So people have softened on them, and that's cool. But I just like, they really have to focus as a business, as a storytellers, to give us the best possible product, and not hodgepodge a trilogy together with 3 different writers and 3 different directors and no true vision. You look at something like Marvel, who pumps out like 6 movies a year,
right?
And they're all generally pretty solid,
good. Yeah,
and they're all pretty much interconnected in some way or another. Where, like, how can you not string 3 movies together? It doesn't. You're owned by the same company. You obviously have the resources that you need to accomplish this. What's going on? So I just have to ask that question, and I don't want to put all the blame on the fans. I mean, the fans can get grumpy for sure, and it's a kind of a separate issue in my opinion. But like, Lucasfilm really has to get their act together and deliver a really solid product.
Let me pose this, two things that came to mind when you were saying that, Alex. So the first thing is, obviously no creative, gets in front of the drawing board and doesn't want to put out like their best product. I can't see, the creatives at Disney or Lucasfilm saying, the best one's over here, but I'm gonna release this one, and I'll save this one for later.
Movie.
Yeah, it's so the fans can be disgruntled and stuff like that. It's just a weird process. I think Kathleen Kennedy and the folks at Disney and Lucasfilm, I think they tried something and it just backfired. I think they tried to do something new with the people behind the scenes and the directors, and let's tell a story this way, with 3 different directors and see where it goes. I just think they thought it was going to be a good idea, and they thought they were going to get, a nice mix of variety and adventure, and something happened. And again, not to say people that liked or people that like this new sequel trilogy that it's wrong. I'm just saying that because and based on the fan reaction, that something happened somewhere, whether it's and I can't believe that it's just because fans are grumpy and a-holes. Something happened in the narrative there. And then the other thing too that you were talking about, and I have a friend of mine, and I don't agree with his conspiracy theory. I have a friend of mine that says that someone at Marvel is somehow sabotaging Star Wars, because Marvel is doing fantastic, as you guys noted, and Star Wars is not. And obviously that's a relative term. Obviously both Star Wars, have already generated at least $1.5 billion. And obviously the Last Jedi was a little less than The Force Awakens, but they're making their money, obviously, because it's in the billions and not millions.
Mhm.
But it's kind of a weird, crazy conspiracy tinfoil thing where he says that Marvel is sabotaging Star Wars. I mean, it's all money that goes to the same pot. So that one I don't get.
I don't quite buy that either. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I want to point this out. Like, I know Kathleen Kennedy has a fantastic pedigree when it comes to producing movies. She has produced some of my all-time favorite movies ever made, between Indiana Jones and Jurassic Park and E.T. She has the background that she needs, but when it came to Star Wars, it feels like when you were talking about, like, she wanted to try something new. She wanted to, let's do different directors and try and see if we can get a fresh outlook on these characters. Because one of the criticisms of the prequels is that, like, George was kind of surrounded by too many yes men, and he didn't have enough voices in there to guide him in the right direction, like take his raw ideas and kind of refine them. So they were trying to go the opposite direction, which I can appreciate. But it seems to me that Kathleen Kennedy is just not as good at guiding all of her directors in the same vision as, say, somebody like Kevin Feige is able to take all their directors, all their writers, and say, look, you guys can have this amount of freedom, but at the end of the day, this is the direction that you need to go. So there seems to be some kind of a failure of management from Kathleen Kennedy. And I'm not trying to poo-poo her. Like I said, she has a great pedigree, and she's been around some of the best movies ever made. But I think producing one movie at a time might be more of her strong suit than trying to take on like some kind of a cinematic universe or something.
It's a totally different ballpark. I mean, like, let's make a good movie is totally different than let's make, this most successful franchise ever continue cohesively indefinitely.
Well, and the thing is she is a fantastic producer, and the production qualities on 7 and 8 are phenomenal. But there's some creative issues. And while I think she is definitely one of the best producers out there, I'm not sure that she understands the story, or I'm not sure she totally understands Star Wars. While she understands how to produce a movie, she doesn't know when a director starts going somewhere that's not quite, right for Star Wars. She doesn't rein them back.
Yeah, and I think I had a theory. I think I talked with Ro about this, is that she was looking, like, she's used to working, and she grew up in the business working with people like Lucas and Spielberg, who are two of the best filmmakers ever. At least Spielberg is best filmmaker. I would say George is probably the best idea man. Because a lot of the things that we love between Star Wars and Indiana Jones and stuff were all George Lucas. And Steven was the one who brought him to the screen. And I think she is trying to capture that same thing with these young up-and-coming directors like J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson. And she's just not quite finding that same kind of fire that she found with Lucas and Spielberg. So, I'm trying to understand where she's coming from. I feel bad that it just didn't work out for her the way it, the fans wanted it to. Her job is to promote her movie, and she's never going to say anything bad about it. So when when you see her do press junkets and say how wonderful everybody is, I'm like, that's just, that's typical talk for producers and actors. You're never going to hear them say anything bad. So I don't really take what she says too seriously when it comes to those things, but I just, I really wish the best for her, and I really wish that the Star Wars moving forward can kind of learn from these hiccups and give us something really, really solid in the next coming years.
Yeah, I agree. Just getting back to excitement, I am excited to see the more Star Wars is always good. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm still excited to see how it ends. Although, like I said, I read a lot of stuff on how it ends, and I think I'll just accept if those rumors are true. It is what it is. Yeah. So let's switch topics. So okay, real fast. Let me just get to a comment here. Chodna Zoop says, I'd agree with you on that. If she didn't, if she did? Oh, I'd agree with you on that. If she didn't, Lord Miller on Solo. Alex, I think that was directed to you.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, that was a bummer. Like, okay, so again, I'm going to try and defend Kathleen Kennedy, which is dangerous territory in the Star Wars fandom. But according to early reports, the Lord Miller version of the Solo movie, according to the actors on set, I think it was either Alden Ehrenreich or possibly Emilia Clarke, she said it played like an Ace Ventura movie. And I am glad that we didn't see that.
Yeah. I remember telling a friend of mine saying we dodged a bullet with that.
Yeah, I would say that it was definitely done way too late. 60-70% of the movie being finished. I think she needed to be on top of that game a lot sooner than that.
Mm-hmm.
However, I'm glad she did pull the plug on that when she did, at least doing it in the first place, and bringing on somebody like Ron Howard, who's a classic director of film, and he's really knowledgeable about that. So, and that's why, I don't really like Solo. The movie was okay. It had elements, but I do believe that those characters, those actors, and Ron Howard deserve a second chance. So I'm all for Solo 2 if they end up doing that with Ron Howard attached from the start.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, every Star Wars that's out there, I mean, I might have my favorites. I may dislike some elements, but I mean, even The Last Jedi, there were some things in there that I really, really liked.
Mm-hmm.
But
It's so pretty.
What was that?
It's so pretty.
It's so pretty.
It is.
And the Holdo maneuver is so
pretty.
No, I thought that was pretty cool. I thought that was gutsy of them to obviously ILM does their best work in that fashion, and it was stupendous. I was like, my jaw dropped. So I mean, when I found out that Kathleen Kennedy was going to be in charge, I had no worries whatsoever. And again, we're not in that world. We don't know exactly what it is that they do and how they do it, and who makes the decisions and who gets the pushback. There was somebody on Reddit that was talking about how, the two directors between, Johnson and JJ, how different they were and stuff like that. And how Kathleen favored one versus the other. Again, we're not in that world, so we're never going to know for sure until somebody, writes that tell-all book that I'll prepay right now for that. But again, Kathleen Kennedy, you're right, Alex, comes from a background of some phenomenal films and some, working with some extraordinary directors. So for sure, Solo needs another chance, because I really enjoyed that film. And again, just a couple of items in that film that were kind of like, but for the most part, I really enjoyed it. So Coruscant Radio Underground, you guys have a new episode that you guys just dropped. Tell us a little bit about that. And if you're not subscribed, guys in the chat, if you're not subscribed to Coruscant Radio Underground, you should go and do it right now, because they are one of our favorite Potter and Family podcasts from the beginning. So tell us, what's your newest episode about?
Okay. The newest episode, it's pretty straightforward. We had gotten a little behind, so we kind of just really dug into the first 5 episodes of The Mandalorian. And we talked a little bit about the Journey to the Rise of Skywalker material.
Mm-hmm.
The
Like what?
Some of the books.
The Resistance Reborn, Force Collector, the Allegiance comic book.
You guys read fast, man. You and one of our patrons, Hyperspace Holocrons. Like one day I'll look through my Twitter feed and he says he starts a book, and like, I don't know, at the day after he's like, oh, I finished it and I loved it. I'm like, dude, what the?
I may or may not have read Force Collector like in a sitting.
She did.
I should have been sleeping, but I didn't. I read the book instead. It was good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
That's the only one I actually read. Most of my reading these days is via audiobook. So, and I usually have to be pretty convinced that I really want to read it before I shell out the money
Sure.
for it.
Yeah.
But so yeah, we talked some about that on our podcast. We kind of tag team things sometimes. So I read some things and he reads some things. So we usually try and be at least a little bit well-rounded.
What do you guys have read a lot of books, but what have you guys been really surprised of as far as the books or comic books or some of the extra ancillary stories for Star Wars, Road, what is it? Road 2. So what do you guys take away from some of the extra stuff?
Not much, honestly. Yeah. This like some of the Road to the Last Jedi books were amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And Force Collector was really good, but I haven't heard stellar things about some of the others.
They're just, and I said this, I talked about this in our new episode, but I kind of feel like I'm not sure that the authors are to blame. I kind of feel like they're hemmed in a way where you're asked to tell a story with these characters
that you can't develop,
but you can't really develop them because their story in the movie is more important. Mm-hmm. And so you've got, because we've heard Timothy Zahn talk about this a few times, where you get asked to write a book.
Oh, and have this and this and this and this.
Right. It has to have all these certain points in it. And then there's all these things you can't do. And it was interesting hearing him talk about that because, having written the first Legends book, the expanded universe book with Heir to the Empire, he talks about that and how they just, there were so few rules when he was writing then.
Yeah.
Compared to how many rules they have when they write now.
I heard a rumor that one of the gaming companies had asked Lucasfilm if they can develop a game and release a game that was in between, I think it was right after The Last Jedi and in between the two movies. And Lucasfilm told them no, because they didn't know what was going to happen in 9. And then they just stopped. They stopped any further development, which, again, there's all the stories about, oh no, we had it planned from the beginning. And then there's stories like that where they're like, yeah, I don't know what's going on. Which, it's unfortunate. And again, we're not in that world. We don't know exactly what it takes to put these mega blockbusters together. I did also hear that J.J. Abrams had 7 and 9 planned out, that for some reason they didn't work with the fact that 8 is after 7 and not 9. Right. So I don't know. Yoda must have been putting down the calendars and their production schedules, because that doesn't make sense at all.
No.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of it's a little bit okay. So I feel like they're trying to, because like George Lucas is like, oh, I had a plan from the beginning. Really? Does anybody really believe he had all of this planned from the beginning? Because every time he did an interview, he had like a slightly different version of what like the long-term plan was. And so I kind of wonder if maybe they were kind of trying to recapture that, kind of like, let's tell a great story. And then we'll get another one together and we'll tell a great story.
Right. Yeah, but the difference was that George's story was always kind of moving as they were making it, but you still had that one mind moving the story
And that's
forward.
the thing. I think that they were trying to maybe make this movie the George Lucas way without George Lucas.
But the mistake they made is that they've got Dave Filoni on payroll, and they should have been making it with Dave Filoni guiding them forward.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. You know, I think Dave Filoni is probably the key to Star Wars going forward. And they're definitely, gearing him up for directing. Obviously, he's directed some of the Mandalorian episodes, and I think he's doing a really fine job. There's some growing pains that I can see, but nothing major.
Yeah,
nothing major at all.
But even if he's not directing films, just having him there saying, well, instead of that, why don't you think about this?
Yeah.
Because he understands, because in the absence of George Lucas, nobody understands Star Wars better than Dave Filoni.
Sure. Yeah, I can see that. They need
to have Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau just be the ultimate end all story group guys.
Yes.
For the upcoming future. And can we talk about Baby Yoda?
Oh, he's so cute. He's so cute.
Yeah,
he's awesome. I love him.
Pretty great.
Yeah. Baby Yoda. So people are saying Baby Yoda is what's going to bring the fandom together. And as Alex,
he already has,
yeah, as you've said, he already has. Yeah.
It was funny. I was watching where I was looking through Instagram and I saw a meme of Baby Yoda saying that he's 50 years old and still an infant. So they did the math on how long it would take him to be like about an adult. It was like 400 years old before he was an adult. And then they were like, if you do that math, Yoda is probably around like 1200 years old. And that means he was around during like the era of some Sith Lord, like way, way back in the day. And I'm like, that would actually be pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's just cool to think like there's so many different directions they can go with this. They need to definitely get the two top minds on Star Wars in making some stories.
Yeah.
I'm definitely intrigued with what will pan out, especially tomorrow, because I think didn't they move this week's episode to before the release of Rise of Skywalker and not
tomorrow morning,
Friday. So yeah, we should just stay on till we should just stay on until for another couple of hours and see what happens.
Watch it live.
But it's. Did I also read that they kind of like they added something to this episode just to kind of tie in, or or maybe it was already planned? I don't. If it was already planned, then why move it? You know what I mean? But I'm curious.
Yeah, there's supposed to be some kind of tie-in.
Well, there's something. I don't know if it's a tie-in or if it's another preview, another clip,
another trailer.
Okay.
I got the impression that it might be a clip tagged on to the end of the episode.
I got the impression that has something to do with the First Order, some character for the First Order.
That could
maybe
be
that new general that's going to be in the Rise of Skywalker might show up in some kind of a cameo or something, like a younger version of him,
Gideon,
like that. Yeah.
Is that Richard E. Grant's character?
No. Off Gideon is Giancarlo Esposito.
Okay.
And he's bringing some Death Troopers, so I'm waiting for that. I love Death Troopers.
How good was the last episode? My goodness.
Yeah. Did you guys talk? You guys said that you talked about which episodes on the next?
We did episodes 1 through 5. We haven't talked 6 yet.
Okay. Did you see 6?
We did.
Yeah. I think there were a couple of times that my son and we just jumped out of the couch and said, "Yeah!" So it was, we hadn't done that in a while, and it was really exciting. I think, one of the biggest things that I had complained about from the beginning was we were missing those grand wide shots. I don't know if you guys remember, we're missing those grand wide shots in the Star Wars universe. There was only, and obviously you understand that budgets come into play, but this last episode had some really interesting, wide shots. When the ship came in onto the space station, you saw a lot of detail and a lot of ambience in that space station that Mandalorian landed on initially. And
this whole episode was great, from the visuals of the ship. These new characters that they introduced were so much fun to watch, and had so much personality. Just each one was. I could watch a spin-off episode about each one of those new characters they introduced, and I think Zero, the
droid,
was probably my favorite. He was awesome. Like, just the way he moved, the manner of speech that he used. It was so much fun to watch. It was such a joy, and it reminded me of all the cool like outside projects from Lucasfilm, LucasArts, from video games back in the day.
Yeah,
it felt like it belonged in that universe, and I was so overjoyed. And like Ro, I like jumped out of my seat a couple of times and did the same thing. I was like cheering on. I was like, I don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen it yet, but there's a moment where the lights go out and all the bad guys kind of look around, and I'm like, yes, get them, Mando.
It had this alien feel to it.
It did.
Yeah,
it got a little horror movie vibe for a few minutes there.
And how about those cameos, huh? They like really leaned into those cameos this week.
Oh yeah,
that was awesome.
Yeah, those were very enjoyable. I didn't, the first time I saw it, I recognized one and not the other two.
Right.
And then somebody pointed out, the second person, and then the third person saw it. I was pleasantly surprised. It was really cool. Really cool perfect roles for them at that time. I think. So somebody in the chat had said that the email said that we needed to watch the credits of Mandalorian for something for tomorrow. So I always watch the credits because the pre-visualization, the artwork is fantastic. And a quick preview, the artist, and I can't remember his name. I reached out to him, and he is going to be on the Scarif Scuttlebutt. We're going to talk to him after I think after the new year.
So
he agreed to come on the show and talk about his art, talk about the Mandalorian and the process of his work. So that should be a really good one.
Yes,
that's fantastic, man! Congratulations.
Yeah, it's great.
I should know his name though.
The first episode, Andrew says they had the picture of the the child and the Mandalorian. Andrew's like, oh, I love that. I want that. I want that artwork. So now literally every episode, Elijah is 5 and he says, oh, look at that. I want that picture. It doesn't just whatever randomly. He just picks one. He's like, ooh, I love that. I need that picture. So yeah, that's awesome thing.
Yeah, if they put out a book of concept art for the Mandalorian, I would be pre-ordering that for sure.
I'm sure they will.
Yeah,
I'm sure they will.
I mean, that's some of the most beautiful concept art we've seen in years.
It is. It's amazing.
I love all of all the concept art that they've released for these new movies are just beautiful. They're well painted and they've got such heart and depth to them. I really like it a lot. I get jealous because I used to draw in high school. I used to draw a lot and I stopped. And every so often I'll doodle. I think Alex and I we were doing an episode and we're both drawing stuff and we posted it online. But yeah, I feel jealous that I got to find all my pencils and things like that. But
I know. When we went to Celebration, they had. Some of those artists are just
out
of this world incredible. And as I was looking at one, and I was like, once upon a time, this is what I wanted to do with my life. I wanted to paint beautiful things, and I got married and had 3 kids, which was a good decision. But man, when I look at some of the things that people do, I was like, I could have done that with my life.
The starving artists. I think you made a good decision. But Star Wars Celebration, the So there's an artist named Jason Kreisman, and I walked into his booth, and he had this up on the wall. It was a huge, long painting, and I wish that I had more wall space.
Yeah.
But it's the Creature Cantina silhouette painting on canvas, it was huge. It was like a long wall.
That's
And it's one of those things that, and again, it's like, I'm not saying that I'm like a great artist, but I'm like, oh my God, I want to at least try to do that.
Yeah.
Because it's so fantastic. And
And
again, I wish I had more wall space.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
I did see
that's
the
my problem.
the
Running
other
out of
day-
wall space.
Yeah, I know us. We go to cons and we buy art. But I did see that they've got the first Lucasfilm licensed artwork of the child as of like 2 days ago. I think Kayla Woodside did it. So you
Nice.
can get on probably Instagram, and
That's really cool. I don't know if you remember, I showed you a picture, a painting or a print we have a while back of Princess Leia, and that was the same artist.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
So,
nice.
we're going to start getting officially licensed. And meaning they're just going to sell pictures of the child like crazy. I think that's what everybody's going to be going for.
So who's ordered their plush Baby Yoda toy already?
I haven't ordered it yet. I've been too busy buying Christmas presents, but Elijah has a birthday in April, so I think he may be getting a plush. Maybe we'll know what his name is by then.
I did order the Funko Pop.
You did?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are some very cool toys. Christmas is around the corner. We don't have anything with the new stuff. I mean, to be fair, I did read that a lot of the toys, like 90% of the toys, were held back because they were filled with spoilers, and they didn't want to. Obviously, you sell a Baby Yoda, put Mandalorian on it, what's going to happen first episode. But
right,
yeah,
but hopefully we'll see. So real fast, I just want to do a couple of name drops. We have a new patron supporter, Nicholas Schaefer. Nicholas, thank you very much for supporting us and helping us out on the podcast. And usually our other patrons, thank you to 97 Bravo and Jedi Mind Trick, Brad. He believes in us, and he's a supporter. Thank you very much. Charlie Skywalker, thank you, Charlie. And Hyperspace and Holocrons, thank you so much for being a patron supporter. We really appreciate it. We were able to do a lot last month with our patron supporters. Scarif Con 2019, we were able to put that event together and had a lot of fun here in Chicago in Andersonville neighborhood. Outside in the cold. Next time we're going to do it inside in the warmth, but maybe in May or June. But
we could come here. It's pretty warm here.
Yeah,
in November usually.
There you go.
A little farther south.
So in closing, you guys got anything to add about your excitement over the final Star Wars film, Rise of Skywalker?
My kids are going to be cute. Even if the movie isn't any good, my kids are going to be adorable.
Where are you guys seeing it? Is it a big event? Or are you just dressing up?
Well, so Thursday, Andrew and I and a couple of friends are going to Baton Rouge because our theater is like sad, our little theater. So we're driving to Baton Rouge to see it. We're going to have a grown-up movie time. And then on Friday, we've got my sister's 2 kids and then our 3 kids and my sister and brother-in-law. And so we're all going. The kids are all dressing up. We're going to have a big shebang. It's going to be great.
Cool. Excellent.
And I'm on, so I eventually will post pictures on Instagram. Right now I'm too busy sewing.
Yeah. And showing cargo elevator fabric.
Yes. Exactly.
Alex, where are you going to go see it?
I always go to the same theater, Galaxy Theaters over here in Las Vegas. I love the seats. I love the way that they're it's a great theater. I can't complain at all, and they have the DFX big screen and all that stuff. So it's going to be a ton of fun. I'm taking my wife on Thursday, opening night. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they have to offer. And I already talked about my feelings going into this a little bit before, but it'll be fun. It'll be good to see. I'm really looking forward to that space battle with all the Star Destroyers. I think that's going to be fantastic on the big screen. And the sound design and John Williams. I don't think we talked about John Williams yet.
Oh,
This
yeah.
is his final work on Star Wars. And it's been reported that he's taken elements from all three trilogies and kind of mixed them together to make like this grandiose farewell. So I'm really, really looking forward to that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. It is kind of bittersweet. You're right. It's totally forgot. It's his last Star Wars film, and I'm if anything, I'm definitely looking forward to that for sure.
Yeah.
And what else? I had something else to say. I am sorry. I'm like blanking out here. Our quiz master Trevor Beast 454 wanted to ask a question to everyone, and it'll be kind of like a little Sentry Mode giveaway. So it'll apply. I'll ask you guys too, but we won't be able to pick a winner until after the Rise of Skywalker, because it has to do with the opening crawl for the Rise of Skywalker. He asks for Sentry Mode. He asks, how many characters will be named by name in the opening crawl for the Rise of Skywalker? So how many characters, or can you name any characters that will be named in the opening crawl for Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker? And obviously we won't know that until after the movie opens, and maybe next week we will pick a winner. But for all you Kylo Ren fans, we will give away this Kylo Ren 12-inch figure for the lucky winner. And hopefully he won't be Kylo Ren. Hopefully he'll be Ben Solo by the time we announce the winner.
What we're going for? Is that your plan?
That's the plan. I'm sticking to it. So, Alex, any other thoughts?
No, just that's the Scuttlebutt, guys. Thanks for joining us on this live chat. And thank you, Andrew and Marisha, for joining us as well. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
glad to be there.
Enjoyed it and happy to do it.
Yes.
And thank you, everyone in the chat. You guys were great. Thank you for your comments and your thoughts and your ideas. And until next time, we will have another discussion. All right, when is your next? Are you guys doing a reaction to the film, a little reaction video or a little commentary?
Yeah, we're gonna do something. I don't know if we'll do it Thursday night or Friday morning, but we'll get something up.
And then we'll probably do something with the kids after.
Yeah, we'll do something with the kids for sure on Friday.
Excellent. In costume.
In costume. Yep. Hey, I've not done anything else for the past 2 weeks, but so kids in costumes are going to be everywhere.
You've been working hard. You got to show it off, man.
Yes.
Awesome. And speaking of next week, we are also going to go international with the podcast.
That's awesome.
A couple of buddies of mine. We're going to talk about our reactions, but we're going to team up with Raul from Mexico. Mm-hmm. And the podcast is going to be in Espanol. So por favor, join us. And if you took Spanish in high school or college, come on down and brush up. We will be talking Star Wars, Guerra de las Galaxias in Español on the Scarif Scuttlebutt podcast.
That's awesome.
Cool. Excellent, guys. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight. And we will catch you next time. May the Force be with you. And that's the Scuttlebutt.